Unqualified leads aren't just annoying, they're actually bad for business. Now, this has been a huge bottleneck inside my business over the past couple of months, where I've literally had people book calls with me for me to troubleshoot their workflows. Now, not only is that a massive waste of my time because I don't offer that as a one-on-one service, but it also clogs up my calendar, which means real customers can't book calls with me. And so the other day, I finally decided that enough is enough, and I built a pre-qualification system that filters out unwanted leads using AI. And as always, in this video, I'm going to be sharing that with you for completely free, so stay tuned. So as always, I've built the system on n8n, and honestly, it's got a fair few advanced features, but before I go into the advanced features and explain how you can set this up for yourself, I'll quickly give you an understanding of how it works. So generally what most people do is they have some sort of booking calendar, and that booking calendar's obviously got a link, and they put that link on their socials, and what customers do is they click that link, go directly to their calendar and book a call with them. But the problem with this approach is you're literally letting anyone and everyone access your calendar and take your time. But that shouldn't be the case, especially if you get a lot of leads, because you can get a lot of time wasters. And so what we've done is we've built a pre-qualification system that acts as a roadblock before the lead can access your calendar. So the pre-qualification system is going to ask targeted questions from that lead in order to identify what it should do with that lead. So if after pre-qualifying the customer, it decides that this isn't our ideal customer, it's not someone that we want to sell to, it's not someone that we want to give our time to, it will either refer them. For example, if we have tech partners that can build it for them, or if we potentially know someone else can help them, we can refer them to that person and obviously make a commission from it. Or we can downsell them to one of our products. So in my instance, I've got info products, so I can downsell them to my info product. Or we can reject them entirely and say, no, we're not going to give you our time. And so that way, no lead goes to waste, and we also don't waste our time with people that aren't our ideal customers. Now, if they are our ideal customer, obviously we'll let them go to our booking calendar so they can book a call with us there. Simply put, that's the idea of the pre-qualification system. It will ask qualifying questions to ensure that we actually want to talk to this person before letting them book a call on our calendar. Or if it decides that this isn't the person we want to talk to, we'll either refer them, downsell them, or reject them entirely. Now, at this point, you might be looking at me and saying, well, this just sounds like a normal pre-qualification form. Why are you saying you're using AI, and why are you making it look like it's so groundbreaking? Let me show you. Just like every other qualification form, the system is going to ask a bunch of questions like, how can we help? But the problem is that oftentimes people give you answers that don't actually have enough depth to actually mean anything. Like for example, my previous booking calendar used to say, tell us anything that can help prepare for the meeting. How can we help? And the answers that people would give to this question was actually funny. I would literally have people say something like AI. Or they would say something like AI agents, which actually means nothing. Like, what do they mean? Do they want me to build them AI agents? Do they want to just talk about AI agents? Do they want discovery? Do they want an audit or how AI agents can help their business? What do they want? I had no clue. And that was the really bad thing, because I would jump on calls with these people without knowing what they actually wanted. And so this is where it gets pretty incredible, because how we've set up the system is AI actually reads the answer the person gives to that question. And based off that answer, it asks the next question as a clarification question. So for example, in this instance, the person said they're looking for AI agents. And the next question that came up says, what specific tasks or processes do you want AI agents to handle? So it's a clarifying question for us to get more information as to what they mean by saying AI agents. So in this case, it's actually prompting the user to tell us what do they want the AI agent to be able to do. So now the user might actually say, I want to learn about AI agents. And obviously, if they want to learn about AI agents, that isn't a customer that I want to talk to directly. So what it does is it redirects them to a page that says, join my accelerator program, where you can learn about AI agents. Don't book a call on my calendar. Please don't waste my time. Now, just to show you how this works in practice again, I'm going to give you another example. Let's say in this case, the person says they're looking for AI to automate lead generation, right? It's something that I get quite often. So the person says, we want AI to automate lead generation, and they'll send that through. And now, as you can see, the question that came after was dynamically generated based on the answer they gave to the previous question. And in this instance, it's saying, what's the main outcome you want from AI-led lead generation? Do you want more qualified leads? Do you want booked meetings? Do you want full appointment setting? So do you see what I mean? The AI is actually asking clarifying questions based off what answers they give me, so it can have enough information before it decides whether this is a person that should go to my calendar, or whether this is a person that we should downsell to my info product, or whether this is a person that we should, for example, refer to one of our other partners. So let's say in this instance, if we answer that we're looking for more unqualified leads, what will happen is the AI will classify this as a person that I would potentially want to talk to, and it will route them this way, which will actually end up asking them another question. And this question is going to say, okay, well, what is the size of your company, right? Because I don't want to talk to everyone. I want to talk to people that are 50 employees plus. And just to remind you again, can you see how this is different from what happened last time? Last time, it didn't even ask any more clarifying questions. It just sent them directly to this page that said, cool, join my accelerator program if you want to learn about AI agents. But in this instance, because they're potentially a customer that I do want to talk to, it's now asking further clarifying questions to actually decide whether they truly are a customer or whether they're someone that we don't necessarily want to invest resources into. So in this instance, they might choose that they have 51 to 100 employees, which for us is the perfect size. The next question we'll ask is, okay, well, how urgent is this project? And they might say that they're looking to start immediately, which for us is like perfect. They got the correct number of employees. They want to start immediately. This is someone that we definitely want to talk to right now. And so once they click on submit, what will happen is they'll get redirected to my booking calendar. And so they can now choose what day and what time they want to talk to me, and they'll be able to book a call on my calendar. Now, I hope by now you can imagine just how powerful this actually is. You can literally generate the next question based off the answers the lead gives you in the previous question. And this way you can gather enough information to make a data-driven decision as to what type of lead this actually is, and then you can send them wherever you want to send them. Whether that's to your booking calendar to actually book a call with you so you can potentially sell them as a customer, whether it's downselling them to an info product, whether that's sending them to a thank you page and saying, sorry, we can't help you, or whether that's referring them to one of your referral partners. So this way, not only you won't waste your time, you also won't let any leads go to waste. Now that was the core idea of the workflow, but let me show you a full demo so I can actually show you all the features that we have built into the system. So once people click on the link to book a call with you, what they should see is a page that looks like this. It's going to say book a consultation, and it's going to get them to answer a few quick questions. Now, this is super normal. When anyone wants to book a sales call with you or book any sort of consultation with you, they'll obviously have to give you their information. So at this stage, nothing really incredible is happening. So let's say in this instance, we'll say customer one is filling up this form, and they give us all the details like their phone number, email address, their company name, where their business is located, and also their LinkedIn URL. They will submit this. What they'll see is that in the next page, we're going to ask them for a verification code. Now, this is something pretty cool, and I would even say pretty critical, that we built into the system to ensure that we reduce spam as much as possible. Because now if anyone wants to actually be able to talk to our AI and potentially book a call with us, they have to verify that they actually have access to the email address that they're using. And so if they open up their inbox, they're going to see that there's a message saying, hi customer, and they're called customer here because we actually named them customer inside the form. If their name was John, it would have said, hi John. And it's saying the verification code is this one here. So they'll copy that, go back and put it in. But just because I want to show you guys what would happen if they give the wrong verification code, I'm going to jumble this up. They might send this through, and the system is going to know that that was incorrect, and it's going to ask them to put it in again. So this time we'll actually put in the correct one. And now, as you can see, the system recognizes that that actually was the correct verification code, and it recognizes they actually have access to their inbox. And then it's going to say, thanks for verifying your email. How can we help? And we already saw what happens here, where it asks a question and then asks a clarifying question to make sure it has enough information to actually classify them correctly. But there's one step in between these two that I haven't actually showed you guys. What the system does is every single time someone tries to book a call with us, it grabs their email address and it puts it inside a Google Sheet alongside a column called recent attempt. And that recent attempt has an exact date and time as to when the last time they attempted to book a call with us actually was. Now, what happens inside the system is it makes sure that they haven't tried to book a call with us within the last 10 minutes. So if someone was to try and book a call with us right now, and they tried to book another call with us in 3 minutes, it's going to say, hey, you have to wait 7 minutes because you just tried just then. And the reason why we've done this is to minimize spam. You don't want a bot to come and try and, I don't know, book 20 calls with you. You don't even want some guy that wants to reverse engineer your pre-qualification form to keep going back and forth and waste your AI's tokens and actually waste your time and just annoy you. So we've built the system to ensure that they can't do it in less than 10-minute intervals. Now, a little bit later on, I'll actually show you how this works in practice. But coming back to the form, let's say the lead says something like, I'm looking for a partner. Now, I literally get a lot of people in my booking calendar booking calls saying they're looking to partner up. But the problem is, I don't know if they mean they want us to be their their AI partner or actually implementing AI into their business, which is exactly what we do as a service, or whether they want to outsource clients with us and partner with us as an agency. And the beauty of the system, as I said before, is that it will actually ask clarifying questions to clarify exactly what they mean when they say they're looking for a partner. So in this instance, it's saying, are you looking for an AI partner to automate your business, or are you looking for a partnership to outsource your client projects? That is a very important question to me, because if they're looking to outsource client projects, I don't want to jump on a 30-minute, 40-minute consultation with them. I just want them to fill up some sort of partnership request form, and then I'll go through the form when I have time and I'll reach out to them if we're interested. But it's not something that we want to dedicate resources into, because this is an AI consultation and it's actually meant for people that want a real AI consultation. So in this instance, the person might say, we're looking to outsource clients. Now, what will happen in this instance is the AI will actually classify them as someone that's trying to become a business partner, not necessarily a client partner. And so we'll send them to this form that says, commence a partnership request. And it's going to ask for all the details that we would need from them in order to decide whether we want to partner with them or not. So for example, what's their website? How many employees do they have? What services do they offer? What's their ideal customer? What type of partnership are they looking for? And a whole bunch of other questions. So let's say if they fill up this form and click on submit, what will happen is they'll get redirected to this page that says, thanks for choosing us. We'll review your application and reach out to you shortly. And I'll even have my email address at the bottom there if they want to reach out to us for any additional info. But as you can imagine, that information isn't just going into the abyss. We're not just absolutely removing all that data and just removing them from our lives. What we're doing is, after we redirect them to that page, we're actually uploading all that information directly to our CRM. So the CRM that we use and we recommend to everyone is GoHighLevel. And inside GoHighLevel, as you can see now, we have that customer uploaded called customer one with all the details that they told us from before. And if we go over to notes, you can see that their answers to the form has been submitted as a note. And the customer's been tagged with partnership request. And just to take it one step further, to make sure that I actually know there is someone that's waiting on a reply for me, it also sends me an email saying there's a partnership request from someone with these details, and it tells me to go and complete it and reach out to them ASAP. So as you saw, we're literally not letting any leads go to waste. We're ensuring that we're capturing all the information, putting it inside our CRM, and we're also notifying the correct people for them to follow up if there is any need for follow-ups. Now, I'm sure by now you've realized that this system is set up to help my business because it works with my business's requirements. Like, we get people that want to come to us for partnerships, or we get people that want to come to us for learning, or we get people that just don't have enough money to pay us and don't actually fit within our ICP. But depending on the type of business you run, your unqualified leads would be asking for different things. And so what you would do is, once you download this workflow, you'll set it up to match your needs. The good thing is that I've already set up all the logic and I've already set up the exact framework that you'd use to create your own pre-qualification form. But then all you have to do is just figure out what type of leads potentially reach out to you by reverse engineering what type of requests you usually get, and then building out the correct questions and logic to handle each of those scenarios. So the workflow that I'm about to give you should take you 80% of the way there, especially if you don't run an AI automation agency. But for you to take it to 100%, all you have to do is just change a couple of questions and change a little bit of logic. But I hope this is opening your eyes on what is possible building forms on n8n. It's actually incredible. Now, if you've gotten this far into the video, I have something very exciting that I want to share with you. I just launched a day-by-day accelerator program that's going to get you to not only become an AI automation expert, but also launch your AI agency within just 28 days. Now, we'll be honest, it's not a get-rich-quick scheme or make 10K a month type of program. It's actually a day-by-day accountability program that's going to get you to not only practice technical skills every single day to learn AI consulting, prompt engineering, and no-code development, but it's also going to walk you through every single day building out your agency within just 28 days. So by the end of the 2 sprints, you'll not only be in the top 1% of AI automation experts, but you'll also have a live agency that you have already started marketing in order to actually make money from this skill. Now, we also give a free GoHighLevel account to anyone that joins the community. And during the 28 days, we get you to actually build out your agency on the GoHighLevel account. And this way you can save a ton of money that you would have otherwise spent on other tools like Calendly and all this other stuff, because GoHighLevel has 1,001 features. Now, I'll put the link for the accelerator in the description down below. So if you guys are serious about AI automation, I would definitely recommend checking it out. But as you guys know, I'm all about giving and open sourcing knowledge. So you guys can literally download the template for this specific workflow from my free Skool community for completely free. All you guys have to do is join my free Skool community and then go over to the YouTube resources tab and look for the post that has the same title as the title of this video. And then once you find that post, you want to click on it and you will find all the resources for this specific pre-qualification system attached to the post right next to the video. The .json file is the n8n template, so you want to click on it, you want to download it, and then you want to go over to n8n, you want to open up a new workflow, click on the three dots, click on import from file and import that .json file, and you should see this pop up right away. What I'll do now is I'll do a quick walkthrough of every single node and how they actually work. So when you want to set up your own system, you can easily change it to make sense for your specific use case. So predominantly the main node that we're using across this entire workflow, the really important one, is the n8n form node. Now, if you guys have never worked with the n8n form node, it's actually a very, very powerful node because it allows you to create forms similar to Jotform and Typeform and those platforms. And the awesome thing is when you build on an n8n, it's obviously almost free. Whereas if you were to build it on Jotform, you'd have to pay them, I don't know, 40, 50, 60, 70 bucks a month, depending on what sort of plan you're using. So I'm extremely bullish about building out forms on n8n. Obviously, the first node that we have is a trigger node, and this trigger node actually has the URL that you would use to send people to this form. So right now we're actually in test mode, meaning that we haven't actually activated the workflow yet. But once we do activate the workflow, you'll just copy this specific URL, and instead of putting your booking calendar link, let's say on your socials or on your ads or wherever you're putting it, you would put this URL instead. So once people click on the link, they should see this form pop up, which is going to grab all their details. So in this instance, they might fill out their details saying their name is John Smith, email address is my email address, obviously because we're going to have to verify it, phone number, company name John Incorporated, where they're located, let's say they're located in Australia, and what's their LinkedIn URL, they put their LinkedIn URL there. They'll click on submit, and then as you can see, what happens is a code node generates a random 6-digit code, and then that gets emailed to the lead from our email address saying hi, first name, which is actually grabbing from the form. So it's grabbing their name saying, for example, hi John in this instance. The verification code is this 6-digit code, which was just created from the code node, which is that one over here, the random token. And then it's saying thanks. So hi John, verification code is 259940. Thanks. And if I actually open up my email address, I can see that the email came through saying, hi John, the verification code is this. So they'd copy this and they'd paste it in. But I want to quickly just show you what would happen if they put in the wrong one. Let's say they submit this. As you can see, what happens inside the workflow is it checks to see whether the code that they gave us is correct or not, meaning is it actually equal to the random token that was generated from this code node. If the system found the verification code was incorrect, it goes down and it sends them to another page, which is going to ask them to try again. So as you can see over here, it's saying try again. So now let's say we give the wrong one again. What will happen is we'll go all over again, check the token against the random token from the code node, and we'll find that it's wrong again. So then it'll ask them for a new code again. And it will just continue in this loop forever if we keep giving it the wrong code. But obviously I don't want to waste your time, so I'll give it the right code. And as you can see, once we get the right code, it goes over to a Google Sheets node, which is going to check the Google Sheet that we have to see if this specific email address has attempted to book a call with us before. And if they did, what was the exact date and time for that? So as I talked about before, the Google Sheet has 2 columns, email address and recent attempt. It's basically just checking for that email address and pulling in the recent attempt to then check to see is it within the last 10 minutes or not. So in this instance, kia@comexo.ai, which is my email address, is the one that we just used. And as you can see, it's saying the most recent attempt is 4:21 p.m. And so as you can see in this node, it didn't actually output anything because till now, kia@comexo.ai, which is my email address, hadn't actually tried to book a call yet. So in the next node where we have an if statement where we're checking that recent attempt to see whether it's within the last 10 minutes or not, what's happening is the system isn't actually finding anything, so it's returning null because that email address hadn't tried to book a call with us before. And so it's saying, okay, is null after 10 minutes ago? Well, obviously null is not after 10 minutes ago. So it's saying, okay, this person hasn't tried to book a call with us within the last 10 minutes. So what will happen is it will actually add them into the system as someone that just tried to book a call with us just then. And that's why over here, we now have kia@comexo.ai added. So just to show you this in action, I'm going to actually run this one more time and show you what will happen if they try to book another call within 10 minutes. So obviously I'm going to have to put my verification code again. I'll put that in. So as you can see this time, after I put my verification code in, it's going to say, to reduce spam, we only allow 1 attempt every 10 minutes. Please try again in 6 minutes time. And that 6 minutes is actually calculated based off when their last attempt was. So as you can see, the if statement this time said, okay, they did try within the last 10 minutes, and it sent them through to the true branch, with the true branch having another n8n form node which sends through this specific message saying to reduce spam, we only allow 1 attempt every 10 minutes. Please try again in X minutes. And this X is actually being calculated using this formula, which is saying, okay, when was the last time they attempted? When are they actually allowed to attempt, which is 10 minutes or 11 minutes after the last time. And then it's just rounding up to say, try again in this number of minutes. So that's just a little cool feature I built there so the person knows exactly how minutes they can try again in, just in case for some reason they got disconnected and they actually were a genuine lead. But moving on, let's say they didn't try to book a call within the last 10 minutes and it actually let them progress after verifying their email. It's going to ask them, how can we help? Now, maybe this is a good time for me to actually show you how you can build out the fields inside this specific form. So as you can see at the very top, it says book a consultation, and book a consultation isn't actually specified inside this node. The book a consultation is actually the title of the form, which is coming from the trigger node. So in the trigger node, you have to define a title. So it says form title, book a consultation. And then that's going to be on every single page, unless inside the page you specifically went over to add option and then added a new title. That way this title will override that title. But if you don't try and override it, it will always be the same across all the pages. But if we move past the title, you can see that we have this little section of text that says, thanks for verifying your email. Please note this might take a few seconds. And the reason why I'm saying this will take a few seconds is because we're obviously now sending it over to AI to be able to create a new question for the next question. And that process might take maybe 5, 6, 7 seconds. And so I'm just letting them know that the system isn't broken. It's just going to take a couple of seconds, give it some time. And how I've done this is inside the n8n form node, I've added a custom HTML element. So if you guys go over to add form elements, you can see that there's a whole different bunch of element types you can choose from. The custom HTML element is the one that will allow you to create text or different HTML structures inside your n8n form. So you just click on that and then you define the HTML that you want written inside the form. Now, let's say if you guys wanted them to choose a date from a calendar, you choose date. If you wanted them to choose from a drop-down menu, you choose drop-down and you'd add the options one by one. So you can add more and more options. If you guys wanted to get their email address, you'd have email. If you guys wanted them to upload a file, you'd put file. If you want to get their number, you put number, password, text, and text area basically just means like multi-line text, meaning it's like a big chunk of text. So you guys can choose what element type you want. You can give it a name. So in this case, like how can we help, which is what we have up there anyway, right there. And then you can even give it a placeholder. It's almost the same exact thing as building a form on all the other form creation platforms. But it's pretty cool because on n8n, you have all of this freedom to build any logic you want in between the different form pages. So you can have a form page here, and then the next form page could be 10 nodes apart, and those 10 nodes are doing something with the data, whether it's making an API call to GoHighLevel to send information there, or whether it's, I don't know, trying to get some sort of audit report for them, or whether it's sending the information to Perplexity to generate some sort of research for them, or whatever it is that you want to do, you can simply do within those 2 separate pages. And that is really the beauty of this specific workflow. You can have these different form pages, and then in between these form pages, you can actually put any logic that you want. I can personally think of at least 5 to 10 different use cases that come to mind just from that specific feature. It doesn't have to be a pre-qualification form. You can use that feature to build anything else you want. You can quickly give people an SEO audit, or you can, I don't know, do some sort of research and provide them research information, or whatever you want to do, you can easily do in between 2 pages of that form. So just think about that and think how you can use it for your own business. Now, there's 2 settings that you guys have to make sure you have on for this specific workflow to work as intended. And to set them up, you want to click on the 3 dots, go to settings. Number 1, you want to make sure that the time zone is actually your time zone. That way the recent attempt actually makes sense, and it will make a correct judgment as to whether it is the last 10 minutes or not. And number 2, you want to set some sort of timeout for the workflow. Meaning if someone goes stagnant and they don't continue on with the form within, let's say 5 minutes, the form will stop right there and it will end it and it will assume that they left. And this way, you're not going to have your servers running in the backend just waiting for them to give an answer, which will never actually come. So to save your servers from wasting compute, make sure to have some sort of timeout for the workflow. Now, I think 5 minutes is pretty fair, but if you guys are going to do less, you can also do less as well. So coming back to the form, the question is now, how can we help? Let's say in this instance, the person is looking to automate their customer support. They can just send that through. The next questions come up and it says, which parts of the customer support do you want to automate? FAQs, ticket routing, email chat replies, yada, yada, yada. So it's asked that clarifying question so we can get enough information to make the correct judgment. And also later on, I can actually use that information to prepare for the consultation. But I'm sure that you guys can understand with this specific form, our goal is to minimize the amount of time it takes the person to complete the form. Because if it takes someone 15 minutes to complete a form to book a call with us, it's very likely they're just going to give up and go to someone else. And we don't want that. So what we want to do is we want to minimize the amount of time it takes between each of these pages. But especially in this instance, between the how can we help page and the clarification page, because we're making an API call to OpenAI, which obviously takes a while because it has to go to the LLM has to give a response, that response has to come back to us, and then we have to send that response back to the next page as a new question. Obviously, that's going to take some time. What we're trying to do here is we're trying to minimize that gap or minimize that delay. And we've done that by using a HTTP request node instead of the OpenAI node. So I don't know if I said that right, but I hope that made sense. Because what we found is that the OpenAI node actually takes 2 times longer than the HTTP request node to get a response back from OpenAI. And I think this might be because of how they've set up the OpenAI node inside n8n. Maybe it has to do some things in the backend before they actually send that API request off to OpenAI. But that time delay that it gives us is obviously not ideal. So instead of using the OpenAI node, which is going to take 2 times longer, we just use the HTTP request node and we make that same API call to OpenAI. So I hope that makes sense. Now, the biggest difficulty here is that you have to make sure that the prompt, which is going to be sent off as a string inside your JSON request, doesn't break the JSON. If you guys are non-technical, this is going to make no sense to you. But if you guys are technical, you'd get what I mean. Because in a JSON string, you can't break lines into new lines. You also can't have quotation marks because the quotation marks will get confused with the actual quotation marks that define the string. And so next to quotation marks, you have to have backslashes. And also instead of going to a new line, you have to have \n. Now, if you guys are non-technical, I wouldn't recommend going and trying to learn how to do all these things and build it out yourself. What I'd recommend you guys do is just write out the prompt on the OpenAI node. And this is exactly what I did. Write out the prompt that you want and then grab that prompt, go over to Perplexity and say, I have this specific prompt. I want to send it off as a JSON string over to OpenAI and I want to make sure that it doesn't break the JSON. Please fix the prompt. Perplexity is going to grab that specific prompt and it's going to do all the things that I just told you to make sure that it doesn't break the JSON. It's going to give it back to you. And then all you have to do is copy it and then go over the HTTP request node and replace it with this specific string. Now, if it's really not working and it's annoying you guys a lot, I'd recommend just using the OpenAI node instead. That's probably what 99.9% of people will do. And the downside is it's going to increase the time delay between these 2 questions by about 4 or 5 seconds, which obviously isn't ideal, but it's also not the end of the world. One other thing that I've already done for you guys that I want you to definitely consider is also when you're pulling in any of these answers as an expression into that JSON string, you also want to make sure that it doesn't have those new line characters and those quotation marks like I said before. And I've already set this out for you here with these 3 replace functions. And there's 3 replace functions are just going to grab that expression and make sure that it doesn't break the JSON string. So anytime you guys are pulling something in and you're sending it off as a JSON string, just make sure you use these 3 replace functions. That should fix everything. But anyways, before the workflow times out, let's quickly fill out the rest of the form. Let's say in this case, they're looking for ticket routing. They'll submit that. And then as you can see, it gets sent off to another OpenAI node, or in this instance, a HTTP request node that's acting as an OpenAI node. And this time it's saying, look, this is the answers that the person gave to the previous 2 questions. The first one being, how can we help? And the second one being the question that the previous LLM actually asked to clarify. And then it's saying, based off this information, categorize them into the correct category. And I've actually left the OpenAI node equivalent of it here for you guys as well, so you can easily see the prompt. Basically just saying question number 1 was, how can we help? This is the answer. Question number 2 was the clarification question. This is the answer. And then it's saying, look, if they answered this, put them in this category. If they answered this, put them in this category, and so on and so forth. And only output your response as the specific category they should go in. So as you guys can see here, the output we got is looking for specific automation. And looking for specific automation is one of the categories we defined that the AI should give us back if the person is looking for a specific automation, which in this case they are, because they said they're looking for AI customer support. And so then that information is being sent off to a switch node, and the switch node is basically just routing them based off the categorization the AI decided on. So looking for specific automation is the first one, looking for implementation of AI in their business is the second one, looking for AI auditor discovery is the third one, looking to become our agency's partner is the fourth one, looking for coaching is the fifth one, looking for someone to troubleshoot their workflows is the sixth one, and the last one is not given real answers. This is just for the real time wasters that just say, not sure, I don't know, blah, blah, blah. And these people we obviously don't want to talk to. So depending on what your business is and what type of leads you get, you will change each of these categories into categories that make sense for you. And obviously you'd make sure that inside the prompt, you're also defining those categories so the AI knows exactly which categories it should potentially categorize people into. Now, one thing that will make the classification more accurate is giving the AI examples of input and output pairs. So for example, if the lead were to say, I want to connect Airtable with Slack so I get notified of new leads, well, that is obviously in the category of looking for specific automation. Or if they're saying we're exploring AI but don't know where to start, well, that should be in the category of looking for implementation of AI in their business. So just make sure you give those examples so that AI doesn't have to do too much guesswork. So as I said, in this instance, we sent them through the route of specific automation because they're actually looking for a specific automation, which generally is an indicator that they potentially could be a client that we want to talk to. But before we send them directly to the booking calendar, we want to ask them some clarifying questions to make sure that they're actually our ideal customer. So I've set up the first question to ask what their company size actually is. And in this instance, they might answer saying their company size is 11 to 20 employees. Now, as I said, for my business, we prefer to work with bigger clients. We like the 50 to 100 to 250 employee size. And so in this instance, if the person says 11 to 20 employees, they're probably not my ideal customer. But we don't want to just say no to them straight away, because the underlying reason why they're not our ideal customer isn't because they don't have enough employees. It's just because they probably don't make enough money to want to invest the amount that we would like for them to invest into AI automation solutions. So it's just going to ask a clarifying question, in this instance saying, our minimum project size is $2,000 USD. Does this fit within your budget? Well, if they were to answer yes, it will just let them continue on like it would with people with 50 to 100 to 250 employees by asking them what the urgency of the project actually is and then sending them over to our booking calendar, just like I showed you guys before. So just to show you what that looks like inside the workflow, that information will go over to an if statement, which is saying, are they not our ICP? If they're not our ICP, meaning they answered saying they don't have $2,000 to spend on a specific project, it will ask this question. But if they say that they do, it will send them over to get the urgency and then send them over to our booking calendar, which I showed you guys in a previous example. In this instance, let's say they don't have $2,000 USD. So they'll submit that. Now, as I said, I've set up this system to work for my business. In an instance like this, when someone doesn't necessarily have enough money to pay for our projects, we can still refer them to our business partners that are happy to take on slightly smaller projects and still take some sort of referral fee. So it's an opportunity that we don't want to just say no to right away. And so what I've done is I've set up the system to ask them a question saying, don't stress, we have trusted partners that take on smaller projects. Would you like to be connected with them? Or in other words, would you like to be referred? So let's say in this instance, they say, yes, please. They'll submit that. And then what they'll see is that they get redirected to a page that says, thank you. Our tech partners will reach out shortly. And I'll also give them my email address in case the system made the incorrect decision to want to refer them and they wanted to reach out to me directly. But then what's happening in the back end of that, like I showed you guys before, is that contact is being added to my GoHighLevel CRM. So in this instance, we have John Smith that just got added with all of the details that we captured inside the form. And it's also creating a note saying what happened when they filled up the form. So it's saying this person isn't our ICP because their budget is below $2,000. They want to be referred to our partners and they completed the pre-qualification form on this specific time. And the contact itself has been tagged with two specific tags inside our CRM. Number one, saying that they have a low budget, and number two, saying that they requested to be referred. And since now we have these tags on this customer inside GoHighLevel, we can forever know that they filled out pre-qualification form and this was their outcome. They had a low budget and they requested to be referred to one of our partners. So that way we're basically tagging the customer with metadata about them that we can forever use to know exactly who this person is and what ended up happening with them. Now, at this point, you might be asking, why do we care? And if you do ask that question, then it obviously shows you know nothing about GoHighLevel. Because GoHighLevel literally has 1,001 different things you can do with leads. It lets you build out full systems, it lets you build out full funnels and take people through a specific customer journey to eventually convert them or do whatever you want with them. It also lets you create newsletters, it also lets you put people inside sequences and 1,001 different things you can do with people. And so in this instance, what we could technically do is we can create a automation inside GoHighLevel to do something with any contact that's randomly been added with the specific tag of low budget. Like you might want to send them, I don't know, 4 or 5 different emails to try and also downsell them to your community or whatever it is. So I hope that makes sense, but if it doesn't, don't worry about it because GoHighLevel is really complex and there's 1,000 different things you can do on GHL. So trying to explain what I mean by setting up these automations would probably take a whole nother video within itself. But the only thing I want you guys to know is that the combination between n8n and GoHighLevel is probably the most powerful combination for anyone in the AI automation space, because GoHighLevel literally has all the features you'd possibly want inside one software. So you can literally build forms and websites and funnels and everything. And n8n lets you build custom automations that can manipulate data to achieve any outcome you want. Now you combine the custom automations with one API that does everything and has access to all of your contacts inside the CRM. You can literally build out any automation you can ever imagine. Maybe that's an exaggeration, but you can do a lot of things. Now, how we've achieved this is we've used the HTTP request node to send off API requests to GoHighLevel. The first API request is basically just sending over all of those details that we captured inside the form. So if we come back to the contact, you can see we've got the first name, last name, email, phone number. We got the tags. We got their business name. We got the number of employees they have. We have where their location for their company actually is. We have the specific category that the AI categorized them as. And most importantly, we also have the answers that they gave us to exactly what they're looking for. So how can we help? Automating customer support, which is what they said. Which parts of your customer support do you want to automate? To get routing, which is also what they answered. So this HTTP request node alongside with this JSON sends off all that information over to GHL. And then the next HTTP request node is basically just going to that contact and creating the note that we saw inside GHL. So it's saying not ICP because below $2,000, they want to be referred to our partners, and also they completed the pre-qualification form. And then at the very end, we use the Gmail node to send over an email to ourselves to notify of this specific referral request so that I can jump on it right away and refer them to one of our networks. Because as I said, you always want to minimize the amount of delays you have within the customer journey. You don't want the person to wait 2 days for you to refer someone to them. You want to refer someone to them right away to increase the chances of actually being able to convert them as a customer. And then if we go over to my email, you can see that we definitely did receive this referral request saying a lead just requested to be referred with this info, John Smith. This is their email address. This is what they answered to how can we help, and this is what they answered to the clarifying question. And then I can grab this detail, find someone that could potentially fulfill on the needs that they have, and refer them over to that person. Now, I don't want to get down to the nitty-gritty of how the logic actually works and why I've set it up the way I have, because that is only relevant for my business and probably only relevant for all other AI automation agency owners. But if you guys are from a different type of business, whether you run like a home services business or whatever you run, you might also want a pre-qualification system that uses AI, but you would have different logic depending on the type of leads that you get and what you want to do with those leads. And so I won't go into excruciating detail for every single stream inside my workflow, but as I said, I will give you guys access to it so you can build on top of it instead of having to do everything from scratch. But just one last thing that I will show you guys is what you can do with the n8n form node at the very end once they complete the form. So if I open up the n8n form node again, you can see that it comes up with next form page and form ending. Next form page is basically all those in-between pages that we had where it's like a question's coming up after a question, after a question, after a question. So you'd add the next form page to create the next question. But then that form ending node is actually the node that you'd have at the very end of the form once they completed everything. And the form ending node in this instance can either show a completion screen, it can redirect them to a URL, which is what we're doing. It can show some sort of text, or it can even return a binary file. Now, as I said, in my instance, I like to redirect them to a URL because it's a lot easier to build a custom landing page than it is to actually build out the perfect looking text inside the n8n form ending node. But there is a really cool hack that I use to build out these landing pages that literally takes me 2 seconds to build. So instead of actually building out landing pages, all you want to do is you want to just get a free Gamma account on gamma.app, and then you want to go over to new from blank, which basically just allows you to create like a slideshow type of structure. And then once you create the slideshow, let's just say hi, you can say you want to publish it to a site. And you can convert it to a site. And if you click on publish, whatever slideshow that you created will literally become a landing page in 2 seconds. So as you can see, this is what we had in the other page. But anyways, I just wanted to quickly show you guys my little hack of using Gamma for landing pages. And it's probably not my hack. Everyone probably already knows about it. But if you didn't, build your landing pages on Gamma, especially if it doesn't have to be like a high converting landing page or anything like that. If it's like a thank you page or whatever, build it on Gamma. It's going to save you a ton of time. So then after you've built it, all you have to do is just grab the URL and then go over to the n8n form ending page node, click on redirect to URL and put the URL there. Literally as simple as that. People will be redirected to that URL just like I showed you guys multiple times inside the demo. Now I know this has been a super long video, so if you guys did stick until the end, I really do appreciate it. It's been a while that I've been wanting to show you guys this n8n form feature, and I think a pre-qualification system is the perfect use case for it. And so with that said, I hope you guys found this video valuable. If you guys have any questions, anything that you get stuck on, put it in the comments down below and I'll try and answer all of them. But otherwise, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.